I got kidnapped because of the dark web, near-death experience. Part 2. It's been almost 2 years since that night, but the fear hasn't left me. I moved to a new city, changed my phone number, even legally changed my name. I thought I could outrun the terror, but I was wrong. About 6 months after I relocated, I started getting these weird texts. At first, they were just random strings of numbers and letters. I figured it was some spam bot, but then the messages started getting more specific. "We see you," one text said. Another, "Do you miss us?" I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just a coincidence. But then, one night, I got home from work and found a small package on my doorstep. There was no return address. I took it inside, my hands shaking as I opened it. Inside was a flash drive and a note that said, "Play me." I should have thrown it away, but curiosity got the best of me. I plugged the drive into my laptop and a video file popped up. I hesitated, then clicked play. The video started with a view of a dark room. Slowly, the camera panned over to show a man tied to a chair. His face was bruised and bloody, and he was struggling against the ropes. Then one of those masked men from the Red Room video stepped into the frame. "We didn't forget about you," the man said, his voice muffled by the mask. "We have a new game for you." The camera cut to a close-up of the man's face. He was terrified, his eyes wide with fear. The masked man began to torture him, using pliers to pull out his fingernails, one by one. The man's screams were so loud, I had to turn the volume down. I felt sick to my stomach, but I couldn't stop watching. After what felt like an eternity, the masked man stepped back and looked directly into the camera. "You're next," he said. Then the video ended. I ripped the flash drive out of my laptop and threw it across the room. My heart was racing, and I felt like I was going to puke. I called the police again, but just like last time, they didn't take me seriously. They said it was probably a prank and told me to be more careful. For weeks, I was paranoid. I barely slept, jumping at every little noise. I installed security cameras around my house and never went anywhere without my phone, but no matter how vigilant I was, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Then one night, I got another text. "Check your cameras," it said. My blood ran cold. I pulled up the live feed on my phone and saw a figure standing in my backyard. They were just standing there, staring at the camera. I grabbed my knife and dialed 911, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. While I was on the line with the dispatcher, the figure moved closer to the house. I could see now that they were wearing a mask, just like the men from the video. I locked myself in the bathroom, praying the police would get there in time. I could hear the person trying to break in, the sound of glass shattering and doors being kicked open. I held my breath, the knife clutched tightly in my hand. The dispatcher stayed on the line, trying to keep me calm, but it was no use. I was terrified. After what felt like an eternity, I heard the sirens. The intruder must have heard them too because the noise stopped. I stayed hidden until the police arrived and cleared the house. They found the broken window and signs of forced entry, but whoever it was had vanished. The cops told me to stay somewhere else for a few days while they investigated. I went to a motel on the other side of town, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I barely slept, jumping at every sound, convinced that they would find me. A few days later, the police called and said they had no leads. There was no evidence, no fingerprints, nothing. It was like the person had never been there. I was at my wit's end, exhausted and terrified. Then I got another package. This time, there was no flash drive, just a single photograph. It was a picture of me, taken while I was sleeping in the motel. On the back, someone had written, "We'll always find you." I dropped the photo and collapsed onto the bed, sobbing. I didn't know what to do. I felt like a hunted animal, always looking over my shoulder, never safe. The thought of them watching me, knowing where I was, even in the motel, was more than I could handle. I decided to disappear completely. I quit my job, withdrew all my money and left the city. I bought a used car and started driving, never staying in one place for more than a few days. I used cash for everything, avoided using my phone or credit cards, and kept to myself. It's been a year since I went on the run and I still live in fear every day. I don't know if they're still out there, looking for me, or if they've moved on to someone else. But the nightmares haven't stopped. I still see those masked faces, still hear those screams. If you're reading this, please take my warning seriously. The dark web is not a game. It's not a thrill ride. It's a nightmare that you can't wake up from. Stay away for your own sake. And if you ever find yourself in my position, don't wait. Run. Run and don't look back.